So hi, I'm Heather Mason, the application specialist here at Particle Measuring System. Today I'm going to talk a little bit about our active air sampler, the MiniCapt Mobile. This is our MiniCapt Mobile. It has an antibacterial housing. So what that means is that 95% reduction of bacterial load on the housing and on the screen of our instrument. So if you're going from room to room and you're taking this instrument with you, it's less likely to have a false positive coming from room to room and cross-contaminating. You'll see the instrument is 100 liters per minute. We also have a 50 liter per minute and a 25 liter per minute unit. The 100 liter per minute is meant to take a 10-minute sample. This is for lower grade areas like a grade D or an ISO 8. The 25 liter per minute unit is for continuous monitoring. I've seen customers use the instrument for up to 2 hours, and they simply change out their auger plate every 2 hours for a continuous amount of time of the fill. So we're going to talk today more about setting up recipes and locations and users for the instrument and see some of the reports. So if the instrument has an issue and there's an alarm, you'll be able to see any of that on the report. So let's go into the software. Thank you very much. So you can see the startup screen of the MiniCapt Mobile has a calibration pop-up. This just lets you know that your when the last time your instrument was calibrated. So a user would see this and have to hit the check mark to acknowledge that the instrument is within calibration. So now you're going to see the basic startup screen of the MiniCapt Mobile. You can simply hit the start button to take a sample. But if you want to go into detail and set up a recipe, set up locations, set up different features and have a custom sampling, then I'm going to show you how to do that. You can see your volume. Right now my volume, I have it as 1,000 liters. I can change that to make it into time. Either one, I can change that time to 1 minute, 10 minutes, 15 minutes. I can also change that volume to whatever amount I'd like to sample. We have a start delay. The start delay is a really good feature. It allows the operator to get away from the instrument and then the sampling starts. It's like a remote start on the instrument. So I typically set my start delay to be at least 10 seconds. Next we have intervals. So if you wanted to take samples for an 8-hour period and have a 1-minute sample every 10 minutes, you could set that up by doing the intervals. This way you get the entire coverage, but only have your active air sampling happening enough that your auger plate is not desiccating. So you can set up as many intervals as you would like. We could do 3 intervals that will happen in this 1,000 liters. And next you have pauses. So if you want to sample for 10 minutes and then stop it, you can set that information in there too. You can pause that. If something happens and you need to stop your sampling and go back to it, that is perfect for that application. And then you have your compressed gas mode. So if you wanted to test compressed gas, you would simply attach the compressed gas kit, make sure that button is selected, and it's a very simple process. This little button right here is a tools button. It'll let you go to different menus. You can set up recipes, locations, you can view the data from sampling, you can create different users, and then additional setup. So with the recipe, you can create up to 400 locations and 50 recipes that are associated with those locations. So let's create a recipe. I have a lot of them already in here, but I'm going to create a new one by pushing on the plus sign. I have it as a volume as 1,000 liters, but I want to change that. I would like to make that 100 liters. I'm going to just do a quick sample. I'm going to put a start delay in of 10 seconds, and I'm going to leave my interval, I'm going to leave my pauses, and I'm going to call this something. I'm going to make up a name for that. So what I'm going to call it is COVID test. and I'm saving that. So next I need to associate a location with that recipe. So I'm going to go back and I'm going to create a location. The area of my location, I'm going to create a new one. So I'm going to hit the plus button and I'm going to call this one Boulder and then it gives you a choice of doing a location name. So if you were doing a building and you could do a specific room in that building. So I'm going to call this the lunchroom because that's where everyone has the most fun in Boulder. And then I'm going to assign a recipe. I'm going to assign the recipe I just made. And that recipe should be down in this drop-down box. And that was the COVID test. And I'm going to save that. I go back home and I want to use that recipe. I'm going to go up here and look for that recipe that I just created in the drop-down box. And there that is. So then I can start my sampling. I'm just going to hit that green button and sample will start. You'll notice there's a start delay. The instrument is not sampling at this moment. It is simply waiting and counting down, and now the instrument is sampling. So I'm going to stop this. I'm not going to make you have to watch the whole sample. And you'll notice there was an alarm. So that just means the sample did not complete. And so that alarm is always going to be on the report. And you will be able to view that. We'll go into here and we'll look up the data. And that report should be what we just did. And you can scroll down and see exactly what happened. We sampled 9.863 liters. The time sampled was 8 seconds. It shows the start date, the end date, the flow rate. The flow rate was not the correct flow rate. It did not allow it to get up to the amount, so it was only 73.98. And then we scroll down. Our target volume was 100 liters, and we did not get there. We had no intervals, we had a warning, and we had an alarm. Now on this alarm, you can see here. So if anything happens during your sampling, the alarms and the warnings will show up, and this is very good for 21 CFR compliance, so you can tell and make sure that your instrument did sample the correct amount of air. So now I'm going to go back home and I'm going to talk a little bit about users. There are 3 different users that you can set up in the instrument. We have an administrator, a supervisor, and an operator. The administrator is going to have full power over everything with the instrument. The supervisor is going to have limited power. They're going to be able to set up recipes and set up locations, but they're not going to be able to change a password. They're not going to be able to create users. And then you have an operator. An operator can only do basic things, can only choose a recipe that's already been created and start the instrument. So let's go in and look at that. We have the user button. And right now I already have 2 administrators created, but let's make a new one. Let's make a operator. So you get to choose your username, and that could be anything. It has to be a unique name. You cannot repeat the same name. So I'm going to call this one Heather, just because that's my name. And I'm going to pick a password. Password could be anything you want it to be. I'm going to pick a 3-letter password, and it's going to be ABC. And it's going to make me retype that password. And then I get to assign if I'm an operator, supervisor, and administrator. Because the instrument is already as an administrator, That's how I can make this user profile. So I'm going to give myself operator abilities, and I'm going to add that. So now you see that my name is here and I have a unique username, and the instrument right now is unlocked. If I wanted to lock the instrument, I could do that so that only specific people can come in to use them. So you can see the ease of use of this instrument is very easy to use, and it can be very specific. It can be beneficial to have different recipes for different areas and make sure that you have users sign in. You can always look at those reports, and you can always go back and have traceability. So thank you so much for joining us today. If you have any questions, please visit us at pmeasuring.com, and we'll be happy to help you out.